Hello. Friday, March 4th, 2022, 9:09 at night, p.m. A little bit of brains and brawn to try and save what is left of humanity, considering all the things that were going on in Gaza. And then primarily, that was mostly children that were getting hurt. Moving over to Syria and Russia's situation. United Nations is actually adding up the death toll, and it's coming up into 350,000 that Syria has lost within the past 5 months, and that's actually an underestimated number. Up to the 12,000 civilians that have actually been killed recently in the news, and president of Syria has actually passed out weapons to civilians so they can protect themselves against Russian soldiers. With the acts of Vladimir Putin, he has threatened the United States with nuclear arms, saying that the West better not get into it. And these things have been in the news. Many of the country's richest businessmen have actually been studying this information. And, United Nations is going through their stuff. U.S. military is going through their stuff. Even Puerto Rico is talking about sending troops to help and protect these people. Economically, I was looking at all the things that were going on in the country, being that Russia is one of the biggest producers of grain and cereal. Syria has a lot of the grain as well as pistachios, and I was just looking at all the things having to go on with there. Seems like a political land grab, but the more I was going into history, I was wondering why Syria was moving around as it is, having to do with NATO, and how Russian troops pretty much surrounded Syria. The prior president was discussing NATO peace treaties in the early 90s, and then the prior spy turned czar of Russia actually he served 3 terms already. So looking at all the diplomatic things going on there, a lot of people don't think about diplomacy a lot, and considering all the murders of civilians going on right now, it's something to think about. I started diving into history a lot more about the peace treaties, the land treaties, the war treaties, how some countries try to recompense, and later on they retaliate on each other for different things, especially with the Catholic Church being involved. Primarily, a lot of the politicians are Catholic, if you notice that. It took my attention all the way back to the 14th century, as well as the 15th and 16th century. See, the Ottoman Empire got into it with Dracula. I'll let you do your research on that. And every country that's ever been involved in that battle around any Middle Eastern country has always been a war zone. And it's almost like all the ones who went after them had a serious repercussion And it took my attention further back into the Crusades, and then it brought up the Catholic Church again and the Crusades, brother fighting brother, Muslims and Christians going at it against each other, a lot of misinformation stirred around. So pushing away all the misinformation and actually going into the detailed history. History usually is documented by the victors, and they're going to say whatever they want to say. But you have to get into the sociological things going on. Middle Eastern people, they pray 3 times a day, 21 times a week. If you look at Syria and Yemen, they're two of the most famine and war stricken as well as pestilence stricken countries that there are. I mean, they have kids over there that are literally living off of dirt. And every time they got some kind of fertile land situation going on, a war broke out. Some of the people over there, they literally got over a war and then they went back to the fields to start agricultural things, and then they're back to fighting again. And Vladimir Putin, he actually knows what he's doing. See, I can actually see I most of these situations he calls it a specific military action, but really it's someone else, I've noticed. And there's always somebody behind the scenes. What I'm getting at is, of course, the people should defend themselves. When you start looking at duality, there's usually two sides that are innocent. Russian people have actually said they don't want war.